October 30th, 1961, over a remote Arctic island, and the Soviet Union detonated the most powerful weapon ever built by human hands. The fireball was visible from over 600 miles away, a mushroom cloud more than 60 kilometers in the sky, 7 times the height of a commercial aircraft can fly today. The shockwave created circled the entire planet 3 times, and here's the strangest part of the whole story. It was never actually meant to be used as a weapon at all. This is the story of the Tsar Bomba. To understand why the Soviet Union really built something this completely over the top and extreme, we have to understand the moment that it was built in, because in 1961, the Cold War was entering one of its most intense stretches. Just months earlier, East Germany had then begun building the Berlin Wall, and well, physically dividing the city overnight and practically escalating tensions between East and, of course, West. Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev was pressurely demonstrating all of his strength as much as he could, both to the world and to the upcoming Communist Party. Nuclear testing, which had briefly paused under an informal momentum, resumed later that year, and Khrushchev wanted something spectacular to mark it. Not a weapon designed for the battlefield, but a weapon designed to make a point. And what Soviet scientists built was pretty much by any measure an engineering absurdity. The device weighed around 27 tons, roughly the weight of a loaded school bus. It was so large that the bomber that was meant to carry it, a modified Tu-95, had to have its bomb bay doors as part of its fuelage removed just to fit this bomb. There was no missile in existence on either side of the Cold War capable of carrying a weapon of this size. It couldn't be mounted on a warhead, it couldn't be fired from a submarine, and it couldn't be delivered by anything but a single bomber flying directly over the target and dropping it directly. Even then, the bomb was fitted with a massive parachute specifically to slow its fall long enough for the bomber crew to fly far enough away to have a realistic chance of surviving the blast. Their odds, by some estimates at the time, were roughly even. On the morning of October 30th, 1961, that bomber released Tsar Bomba over the Novaya Zemlya archipelago, deep in the Soviet Arctic, and the resulting explosion is estimated at somewhere between 50 and 58 megatons, thousands of times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima 16 years prior. The fireball briefly touched the ground despite detonating thousands of meters in the air. Windows were shattered by the shockwave in Norway and Finland, over 600 miles from the actual blast site. Seismographs picked up the detonations on the other side of the planet, and it remains to this day the single most powerful explosion ever caused by human beings, nuclear or otherwise. And remarkably, it wasn't even close to the bomb's original design. Engineers had built it capable of yielding roughly double that output, but deliberately dialed it back, swapping out the parts of the weapons designed specifically to reduce their radioactive fallout it would inevitably produce. Even at half its strength, the Tsar Bomba shattered every previous record by a wide margin. And one of the key physicists behind the bomb's design was a man named Andrei Sakharov, already one of the Soviets' most respected nuclear scientists. But what makes Sakharov's story so striking is what happened afterwards. Rather than taking pride in having helped build the most powerful weapon in history, he grew increasingly troubled by the unchecked nuclear arms race he'd inevitably helped begin to fuel. Over the following years, he became one of the Soviet Union's most prominent dissidents, publicly campaigning actually against nuclear weapons and then for advocating human rights, at a real personal risk under a government that didn't tolerate quietly. In 1975, Andrei Sakharov was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. The same man who had once helped design the world's largest bomb ever, the Tsar Bomba, was now being given a peace prize. While no country since has ever attempted to build anything close to this scale of size of a bomb, in a strange way its sheer extensiveness may have worked against the arms race rather than for it. The visible, undeniable danger of atmospheric testing at this magnitude really helped push the Soviet Union and the United States towards actually negotiating together. Less than 2 years after the Tsar Bomba detonated, both of these countries signed the partial nuclear test ban of 1963, agreeing to stop testing nuclear weapons in an atmosphere, underwater and in space. A weapon purely built to demonstrate unchecked power ended up becoming one of the planet's most important peaceful negotiating points. Well, that's the story of the Tsar Bomb, the largest explosion in human history ever created, built not to be used but to prove that it could be. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you do follow me, like and subscribe for more, and thank you for watching.